Mrs. Davison. Our next speaker, Terry Roeder. I apologize if I said the last name incorrectly.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Caden's mom, one of the children in Sharon and Nancy's class, who is one of the children affected by the events that took place. I hope that you find what I have to say important as it relates to my son and allow me the time to say it. Although there is so much that I would like to say and so many questions that I would like straight, honest answers to, but there's just not enough time on this given day. I would like to ask any of you, did you care enough about my son and the other children to visit the classroom and meet the children? And if not, why? To my disappointment, the superintendent had not, and the special ed director had not been in there since January. Why is that? Your district failed not only my son, but all of the children. Nancy and Sharon are all but gone, but my son and the other children will remain forever scarred. Teachers and parapros are here to help nurture, give the gift of knowledge, and the love for learning in a safe environment. None of this was done. Instead, they and you gave these children 6.5 months of mental, emotional, and physical abuse. They instilled fear and learned behavior that is detrimental to themselves and to others. These are things that cannot be taken away and erased from their minds. I'm very disappointed in your spokeswoman who was not forthcoming and truthful as to everything that happened in that classroom. Why is that? There was no mention of my son being grabbed by the arm, spanked, then yelled at in his face. No mention of the medical fragile child that was grabbed by the top of his head, turning his head back and forth and jerking it. No mention of the child whose seat was pulled out underneath her and at one point being grabbed by the face against her will and yelling at her. What about not assisting the children in and out of chairs, just allowing them to fall to the ground? And the child being walked down the hall, and when the child pulled back, the child's hand then released to fall to the ground. No mention of confidential information given out about the children, talking badly about the parents, which is a violation of the HIPAA law. The children being laughed at and being made fun of. Picking the children up by one arm off the ground, being in isolated extended timeouts. No matter what I do, I just can't stop thinking about the incidents that occurred in that classroom and why this was not stopped in October. This is so heartbreaking and damaging to oneself. I can't begin to tell you what this has done to me. Your district took from me one of life's most important things, and that is my trust. You took my emotional and mental state and put them on a roller coaster. This roller coaster brought many tears, swollen eyes, anger, sadness, and guilt that is indescribable. You also took my joy of my son coming home to share with me what new things he had learned and milestones that he had reached that so many take for granted but is very difficult for these children. These are just to name a few. However, your district did give me something very valuable, the strength and the courage to stand up and let my son's voice be heard. I will not let this be swept under the rug despite of the power your district has access to. There needs to be immediate change from the very top to the very bottom, and it needs to start with you, the ones sitting here before me. But your district as a whole took much more from my son. You also took his trust as well. You took his right to an education, a right to a safe and nurturing environment to learn and receive his services that are so crucial to his development and becoming as successful as he can be. You also took his joy in learning new things and reaching his milestones that he could be proud of. My son, as well as the other children, will one day grow up. They may never be a president, a doctor, or hold any type of position that you all hold, but they can grow up to be positive and productive individuals in society if only given a fair chance. They can also make a difference in this world and touch many lives, as Caden has touched mine, and many more in just his short time that he has been here. What my son has learned from this is to smack himself in the head and on his hand when he's told no, not good, or he himself is upset. His body trembles and becomes breathless before he starts crying and screaming whenever someone yells loudly or just even in a loud tone, even if it's just from simply others playing. My son's incident occurred on March 20th, 2012, not long after being discharged from the hospital and returning to school. The incident was reported to Human Resources that very same day that it had occurred, and then reported to the principal on March 22nd. Therefore, your administration was very aware long before April 23rd, 2012, of what was going on in that classroom. Why was this not reported to me immediately so that I could seek immediate medical attention to have my son thoroughly checked out by a medical professional? You violated my right as a parent. It wasn't until May 3rd that I was made aware of what was going on and what had happened to my son. And why was this not reported to the police on March 20th, 2012? You broke the law. Your personnel at Webster was quick to report that I removed Caden from the classroom for about a week and then returned with the understanding that myself, his father, and or his grandmother would be watching the entire class time every day that my son attended. And that certain people at your administrative building were also quick to report that my attorney would be also present at our meeting on June 12, 2012. June 12, 2012. Why wasn't anyone quick to report to me about what was happening in that classroom? Your district failed to do their job. From that point forward of March 20th, 2012 until April 24th, 2012, my son and the other children were still subjected to an unsafe and unhealthy environment in that classroom in your district that actually began in October of 2011. That was not stopped then. Why? It wasn't until the school investigator, Mark Schultz, became aware of what was going on in that classroom. It was then and only then that action was put into place. He will soon retire. Your district is losing one valuable individual that can be trusted. He is the one who cared enough about my son and the other children to actually visit the classroom and to do something that was morally and ethically right. Randy, does this hit close to home for you at all? I think Randy's raise, his recent raise of $50,000 per year, should be taken and given to Mr. Schultz to reconsider his employment with the Livonia Public Schools, even if it is just part-time. He's an asset to your district. Just as Sharon and Nancy failed my son, all of the children, not just students, but children, you also failed them as well. The entire district failed them. Shame on all of you. You failed to provide them an education, a safe and nurturing environment for 6.5 months. I unknowingly sent my son to school in which I thought that he was there learning in a safe environment. However, that was not the case. I just can't imagine what he was thinking and feeling every day that he was going to school and probably wanting to ask me these questions. Mommy, why do you keep sending me to a place that is so scary and they are not nice to me? A place where I am not safe mentally, physically, or emotionally. They yell in my face, they let me fall, they hit me, and they laugh at me. Why, Mommy, why? Thank you.